So without further ado, we'll start
Thank
the presentation. So excited for this.
Amazing, thank you. Thank you so much for having me, everyone. I love all these best lives already being lived. That's so inspiring. So my name is Jordy Blue. I am a yoga teacher and empowerment coach, and I specialize in helping people tap into their fuck yes energy.
Fabulous.
So we are here today to talk about mindset. And just before we get started, I do have permission from Adriana to go a little bit longer than usual today because of the small group. So I do have kind of a longer thing planned. I'm talking a little bit at you, and then if we have time, I'm going to take you through one of my meditations at the end, which is really amazing. But the whole point of this is to rewrite your self-limiting beliefs. So our thoughts create our reality, which I'll explain in a minute. And yeah, so that's what we're gonna do. So let's talk about fuck yes energy. Who gets excited when they hear that? Yeah? Yeah, get some hands. All right, and what do you guys think about when you think of fuck yes energy? Let's hear it.
Well, it brings a lot of fuck yes energy when you think about it, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah, so.
Leap before you think. That's what makes me think.
Yep, love that. Anyone else have any guesses? Have any? It's not really a. There's no right answer. It's just
like
whatever you
having
feel.
a hell yes for stuff.
Yes. Yeah. Amazing. Yeah. Totally. So yeah, to me, fuck yes energy is that confidence, that empowerment, that like when you look at yourself in the mirror, you're just like, hey, I'm a rock star, and that really comes from within, right? It doesn't come from outside circumstances, which I've learned through trial and error in my life, which I'm going to explain to you guys in a minute. So yeah, it's just about embodying like who you truly are. So let's get started. So yeah, this is about you guys today. Like I'm gonna give you the value, but I'm gonna start with a little bit of my life story, as I mentioned, because it's going to A, kind of show you where I've been, and B, it's gonna explain some things that I explain later. It'll kind of tie in. And as a coach, like the business is an extension of myself. So if I'm not walking these things, if I'm not walking through and healing myself through these modalities, like I don't find it very genuine to take people through the same thing. So all of the stuff that I have presented, or I'm presenting to you today, I've worked with, I've done it all, it's helped me get into my fuck yes. So I made some pictures to make the story a little bit more fun for you. So if you couldn't tell, I'm American. I grew up in the snowy mountains of Colorado. I was a cowgirl and a ballerina and a gymnast, and I grew up in a very loving, caring home. And about the age 12, I moved to Florida. And this was a big move for a 12-year-old. I was a popular, cool girl in Colorado, and then I moved to Florida, and I was the weird one that dressed funny from Colorado. And that's where I really started noticing that there was this hole inside me, this void, this like emptiness, and I felt like I didn't belong, and that's where my not belonging feeling really got implanted when I made that move. And when I was 15, I got in a really bad accident. As you can see from these pictures, I don't know if you can tell how stoned and on drugs I am, but I was. And I got in a really bad accident. It was a head trauma. The frontal lobe of my brain was most affected. It was pretty tragic. Like I nearly died. They told my parents I wasn't going to make it. I was helicoptered into a pediatric head specialist 3 hours away. I was in ICU for a while. So the frontal lobe, in case you're not aware, is the decision-making and rational thinking part of your brain. I was already a little bit of a reckless teenager, because I already had that fuck yes in me, but then this just like catapulted my recklessness off the charts. I went into a very, very dark place after that. I got kicked out of school, arrested, into heavy drug use, crashing cars, like you name it, I did it. It was pretty heavy. So yeah, very dark hole. This is where the hole got even bigger, and I filled it with drugs and alcohol. I thought that was, I remember thinking like the only time I was really happy was when I was high and skateboarding and listening to Bob Marley. And then those crazy years continued. By this time, I had already been to rehab for pretty heavy drug use. But as you can see from the picture in college, my heavy drug use continued. And this might be a happy picture, but I was very not alive inside. And then unfortunately, when I was in college, I also went on a study abroad program around the world. I was dating this man here, his name is Andre. When we were in Vietnam, he ended up overdosing on heavy drugs and dying, and I had to deal with a dead body and my dead boyfriend in a third world country. So you can just imagine how much trauma was stored from that. So yeah, still dark times, still filling the hole with drugs and alcohol. When I was 22, I met this man here. He brought me to Australia, and he was extremely wealthy. And I thought that that hole that was filling with drugs and alcohol could be filled with money and status. And look, I had it, and again, these pictures might portray like a happy time, but I wasn't happy. It was a pretty controlling relationship. I wasn't able to be myself, and I was very lost. There was still a lot of drug use going on. It wasn't as bad as before. I kind of, stopped that, but I was drinking really heavily, and that hole just kept getting bigger. Like I just didn't know how to fill it. I thought money would fill it. That didn't work. I thought, good relationship. That wasn't a very good relationship. But yeah, so anyways, dark times once again. And then I finally found the strength to leave that relationship, which was pretty tricky. It was pretty hard. I could have been pretty financially set, and it was my choice to walk away from that. So as a woman, I'm sure a lot of you women can relate, like walking away and having your own power was very important to me. But again, I thought my own power, my own independence was going to fill that hole, and having my own money, And look, it did work, and it did help me feel empowered, but it still wasn't really doing the trick. So this is where my true healing began, and I really got deep into yoga, meditation, breathwork.
How old are you by now?
I was 27 at this stage, so I was in that relationship for 5 years. And I traveled the world. I went to India, Nepal. I started doing all sorts of healing modalities. So, like I mentioned, I started teaching yoga. I was doing breathwork, working with shamans, energy healers, multiple coaches. You name it, I did it in the healing realm. And so I kind of began to found myself. And that's where I finally found that happiness comes from within, and that hole is nothing out there is going to fill it, right? So yeah, it took a while, but I got there. And my life today, now. So I don't want to say I'm living my best life, but I'm living pretty close to my best life. There's always room for improvement, right? But I can stand in front of you all pretty confident now. I love who I see when I look in the mirror. I constantly have naked dance parties in my room. It's great. That's part of the empowerment thing. I throw dance parties. I teach yoga, and I help specifically women step into their power and find their sparkle again, especially ones that have dealt with addiction. I also haven't drank alcohol for about 6 months now, which is a pretty big deal for me because thank you. my drug addiction definitely turned into an alcohol addiction. So yeah, addiction, rebellion, all part of my story, but I've kind of stepped out of it. So that's kind of where I am now and how I've stepped out of where I was. So some of the rules that I live by. So your thoughts create your reality. Tony Robbins explains this beautifully. And this is a big statement because you can hear it, but to actually intellectualize it, you can intellectualize it, but to actually live it and to understand how powerful this can actually be, it's a whole nother level. So Brene Brochard explains common practice isn't always common knowledge, meaning you can hear things and you know things, but actually applying it to your life is a whole different thing. So if you've heard any of this information before, maybe just kind of look at it from a different perspective. And it's kind of like that thing also when you watch a movie and then something drops in, or like you see it in a part of the movie that you never saw. That's how this works as well. Like you hear the same messages, but the more deeper you go into coming home to yourself, which is really what Fuck Yes Energy is about, the more that will land. And yeah, also, the recent study I just watched, according to Psychology Today, we need to hear things now 17 times before it actually lands into our brain because of how distracted we are on a screen. So anyway, again, if you've heard the information, try to digest it on a different level. So 95% of our life is run by our subconscious. Has anyone ever heard that before? Does that surprise anyone? You're kind of looking confused. Yeah, so this means that we are running on autopilot most of our life, right? And these subconscious thoughts that were placed in our consciousness, I guess, were placed there usually, but the big thoughts between the ages of 0 and 7. So those are very formative years of our lives. So if anything happened, I don't know anyone that doesn't have any trauma from childhood. Like, it's very common, even if it was just something very little. And even just the way you were raised by your parents. By the way, your parents always did the best they could with what they knew, so we can't blame them for our problems because they were probably raised a certain way as well, right? So parents, society, peers, what culture you grew up in, and then it goes to your own experiences and your own memories as a child. These lay down the foundations that you interact with the world in on a very real basis. And then the way you show up in the world depends on these thoughts and how you interact with it. So you start to unpack this, you have no idea. You're just kind of cruising, like I said, on autopilot, not realizing that you're running your life in a certain way. And by the way, there's also trauma passed down from generations. So I heard about a recent study they did with mice. They administered this certain smell to these mice and then a shock. So they associated this smell with fear, with pain. The offspring of those mice, they didn't even ever have the shock, but when they had the smell, they were scared. So that passed down 7 generations. So if your grandparents dealt with some shit, you're dealing with some shit too on a subconscious level. So because of this, everyone views the world differently, right? According to NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, we actually process, or we can filter in 11 million bits of information per second. That's like a shit ton, right? But we have developed a process in our brain to distort, generalize, and delete most of that information. So about 7 plus or minus 2, depending on the day. So anywhere from 5 to 9 bits of that 11 million bits of information is processed. So those bits of information that we choose to pay attention to are based on our subconscious thoughts, right? So you can see how complicated this gets. And then what I do is I get really curious with my clients about what information they're not processing. And that's how your mindset starts to change. So, sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but your current way of thinking is the problem. I had "you are the problem" written on that, but then I was like, well, that's a bit rough. So your current way of thinking is the problem. So if you want to change your life, you have to change your thinking. That's really what it comes down to. And yeah, so your healing is also your responsibility. So I'm not saying that anything that you went through is your fault by any means. If you went through something traumatic, I'm so sorry that you had to deal with that. But it's not your fault that it happened to you, but it is your responsibility to heal from that and to deal with it. If you want to, you don't have to. You can go through life living how you normally live. But once you start to unpack this stuff, you start to realize how much it actually really affects how you interact with the world. Like my non-belonging belief, like that really affected a lot how I was being with people in the world. So awareness is the first step to evolve, and you can't change what you're not aware of, right? So we like to, in yoga, we have this thing called the observer mind. Does anyone know what that is? Heard of that before? Yes, no, maybe? Yeah, so anyone want to take a guess about what it is?
Well, I'll have a crack. I'm probably wrong, but I'll have a crack. It's easy to observe, not to actually participate.
Mm-hmm.
So we are beings that observe a lot, but don't actually take the plunge to action and participate in making change.
Yeah, that's really good. That's part of it actually. But before
Told you
that was good. A for effort, golden star. But like before, we have to actually become aware of our thoughts, right? And in order to do that, you have to tune into being present. And we're not programmed to be present. We're programmed to be like crazy machines walking around doing this, doing that. So you need to slow down and chill out to get present. So yoga, meditation, breath work, that's why these tools are so powerful, because you're physically actually making your body do something. You're removing the distractions, you're giving yourself that time, and you're just breathing. You're connecting to that space that's within, that feels like home. And then you start to notice your thoughts go by. And you can start to be like, oh, that's an interesting thought. I wonder why I'm thinking that. And like, you start to disassociate with your thoughts. So you know that you are actually not your thoughts. You're this beautiful love energy being, and your ego is a different part of you, right? That's the part that makes us human, and we all have to have the ego. Okay, in that in a minute. But So yeah, awareness is the first step. So you have to get present, and the more you get present, the easier it is to access this space. It's like a muscle, right? The more you work out, the stronger you'll get, the more you access that meditative space. You don't have to do meditation. I know a lot of people are, not against it, but have a hard time with it. But that is like one of the easiest tools to kind of drop into practice being aware. And then you become aware of your behavior, and then you get really honest and open, like, oh wow, I just reacted to that situation with so much anger. Why did that anger just come out? Oh, okay, it was because I felt like I was abandoned when I was a kid, and then I felt abandoned here. And then you start to unpack all these things, and that's how you grow, that's how you change.
So I was totally wrong.
You were a little off, but that's also part of it. Because you have to take action, and that's what I'm talking about next. So anyways, change your mindset, change your life. I hope I've summed it up in all of that. Your thoughts create your reality. So I love these two quotes. We create with our consciousness. What we think about, pay attention to, focus on, and choose to believe, whatever goes into our mind is what becomes our reality. So super true, super it's not some hippie woo stuff. It's all scientifically proven now. And then of course I had to throw Gandhi in there because I'm a hippie. So I'm sure you're all familiar with that one. So it really, really just comes down to changing the way you think. So these, I like to call, are the 4 golden truths. These are non-negotiables. These are rules I live by. This is proof of my life. So you are worthy because you are. Full stop, period, whatever you call that thing at the end of the sentence here. There's no condition to your worth. So we are, or you can be, conditioned to believe that your worthiness is based on something, or there's a condition to it. It can be as simple as when you're little, your mom says you can't have ice cream until you do the dishes. I mean, that's a really silly example, but it's teaching you, okay, I need to do something in order to get something I want. And yes, there is realistically life, you have to do stuff to get stuff, of course, but on a subconscious level, you are teaching yourself that there's a condition to your worth. And then this just kind of goes on and on. So when you do this work, you have to realize that you are not lacking. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken. That you are completely whole. Michelangelo, when he does sculptures, he has this big piece of marble and then he chips away. And he says he just chips away the pieces that don't belong there. So this is what this work is like, right? We're chipping away the pieces that don't belong there, but at our core, at the marble core, we're still cool. We're all good. You're just kind of working through the levels that you need to. So also on this point, I wanted to kind of explain, I touched on it earlier, there are 2 parts to us, I believe. There's the ego, the thinking mind, the monkey mind, which makes us human. I call it the little Jordy, or the little Wendy. And then there's the big Jordy, the big Wendy, the part of us that's love, this divine love and light consciousness. That's when you connect home to yourself. That's where the fuck yes energy comes. And there's actually scientific proof of this. I'm so excited through quantum physics now that there is this single stream of consciousness that connects us all together, that connects us to nature. This isn't religion, this isn't spirituality, this is science now. And so when you connect back to that nature, that's who you are. You're worthy. You're worthy because you are. You're deserving of everything. So really drop into that and get it in your brain. All right, number 2, you have to fill your own cup up first. What does this mean? You can't put someone else's oxygen mask on if yours isn't on. So moms in the room, any moms in the room? Yeah, I'm talking to you especially. It's hard, right? Sometimes we put, especially as women in general, we tend to put ourselves last. We tend to, not only men, not only women, I'm sure men do it too. But if you're not showing up for yourself and you're not giving yourself what you need, you're actually doing the world a disservice, because when you show up as your best self, you show up to the world around you as your best self, and then it's a ripple effect that makes everyone happy. Second to last one, the universe has your back. So I call it the universe, the source, divine love and light. That's how I think of life in general. I know if you're religious, this might get a little bit controversial, but when you are living from your truest nature, from yourself, and you're doing stuff that you know you're meant to do. Like for me, like I know I was put here in this lifetime to share yoga and to help women specifically empower themselves. And when I step into that power, like it's crazy the doors that open. Like the universe is co-conspiring with you to live your dream life, and it happens. Like there's so many live examples. I can be here all day telling you all these examples of people's lives, of clients and my own, that I've seen this happen in. But yeah, so when you have a desire, the word desire, it comes from the Latin root meaning of the Father. So of the Father means, you know, of God, of universe, whatever, of source. Like that desire, that inner yearning to do whatever it is you want to do, that was placed there for a reason. That's not, like that's like your big Jordy, your big Adriana, like telling you, hey, this is your life's path. You go do it. And also we have to let go of the how. Like our ego, we really like to know how is everything going to work out. Like, okay, I want to be a coach. How am I going to do it? Da, 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 da. And we like to have this control. And while obviously you need some of that control, some of that like analytical thinking brain, sometimes you gotta like take the back seat and let the big version of you kind of guide your life. All right, last one. You are in control. This is where you come in, Grant. You said it perfectly. So we need to take action, right? So you are in control of your life. You need to, if you want to make the changes, you're the one that has to do it, right? And this is when you step out of the victim mentality of like, oh, poor me, all this shit happened, no wonder I drink so much, like all that stuff happened, or yeah, whatever it is. Into like, no, I'm stepping out of that, I'm stepping into my power, I'm gonna like be this badass version of myself. And a lot of that comes with action, right? So aligned action, taking actions that align with the person you want to be, that make you feel good, and sticking to those. So it's like this action and mindset thing. And actually I borrowed this from Stacy, like when you change, if you have a point of view about yourself, and then you take an action, it reinforces that point of view. So, oh, okay, I'm a stupid example. I'm a runner. I go for a run. The result is I'm good at running, and then it keeps going, and you go up, 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 and it's like a good mindset. So it's mindset and action together that takes you onto the evolved version of yourself. Okay, that is the 4 rules. How does everyone feel about that? Good? Let's have a little like shake break. Because we've been sitting a lot. Yeah, even stand up, shake it to the left, shake it to the right, shake it up. Okay, disco formula. I'm almost done talking. So, do you guys want to know how it's done? Yes.
Absolutely.
Woo! All right, yeah, fuck yes, I love it. So this is a formula I have personally designed based on all the things that I have healed myself with. It has a bunch of different modalities, including NLP, metadynamics, psychology, and a bunch of other sort of hippier Eastern medicine type modalities in it. Oh, before I go into it, so just so you can kind of understand what it's like. So this is how we rewrite our subconscious beliefs. And I want you to think of your subconscious as a garden, okay? And when you're trying to plant new beliefs into the garden, if there's the old beliefs, the weeds, like they're not gonna grow. So you need to weed out the old beliefs, right? To plant in the new ones to grow beautiful. Nourish the soil, all that stuff. So have that in mind as we go. So D stands for declare your desires or discover your activations, aka triggers. I don't like the word trigger, it is negative. So some people come to me and they're like, Jordy, but how do I know my self-limiting beliefs? I don't know, because if you're not aware of them, if you're just living your life like you normally would, like you don't actually know, like, oh, I act that way because of whatever happened when I was a kid. So this is a good little way to discover. So declare your desires. Hopefully, if we have enough time, we're going to do a dream life meditation, which is pretty awesome. So when you start to declare your desires, all these beliefs will come up of why you can't, shouldn't, aren't worthy, aren't deserving of living that life that you desire. And then discover your triggers, or your activations rather. Like just think back on your life in the last week. What pissed you off? What made you angry? Even if it was just like someone in traffic. That you can, I know, you can think about it, right? It's easy to like bring those to mind. So bring those to mind. And then you identify these icky beliefs, as I like to call them, and where they came from. So you look at these things, you identify where the icky beliefs came from. And by the way, see, these beliefs, they're lies. They're not true. Because you placed them there to protect you. Your ego placed at one stage in your life, that thought or that behavior was there to serve you in some way, shape, or form. The ego is trying to help. It gets a bad rep. It can be a bit of a dick, the ego, but like it is trying to help us ultimately. So those beliefs that were placed there, they were trying to help us at one stage, but they're not true. They're lies. And you have to like really, really know that. And how you actually unpack that is you search for evidence of them not being true. So, AKA, I don't belong, right? I had this feeling I don't belong up until very recently. It still it rears its ugly head sometimes. But then I think, okay, wait, I do belong. I belong here. I belong to my yoga community. I belong to my family. I belong to a beautiful conscious community in Bondi. So you start to trick your subconscious and be like, no, I do belong. And if you can't find evidence of it not being true, in your own life, you can use someone else's life. Another big one a lot of my clients have is, I'm never gonna find love. I'm never gonna find that like perfect relationship that I see those people having. Well, why the F not? Those people have it, why can't you have it, you know? So you just search for those, kind of proving yourself wrong, tricking the ego. So this is actually neuroplasticity. This is rewiring your thoughts. There's all sorts of science behind this, and you have to actively do this in order for it to work. Otherwise, your brain will just keep on going the same way. So when you're doing neuroplasticity and when you're training the brain to think in different ways, new neurons are firing, right? And you're making these new neural pathways. And in the beginning, they're like not very deep, but as you start to think more positively or think I do belong, blah, 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 whatever it is, they get deeper and then this becomes automatic. And then it becomes your new way of thinking. So C stands for compassionately forgive and release them, these old beliefs. The key word here is compassionately, because remember, it was keeping you safe in some way, shape, or form before. And also, you do need to forgive and release to people that harmed you in the past. And that can be a really hard one, especially if you've dealt with a lot of a lot of trauma. And again, I'm sorry if you've dealt with that. But if you are holding on to that anger, frustration, whatever it is, like there's weeds in the garden, right? So if you're not making room for the new beliefs to come. So yeah, compassionately forgive and release. You can do all sorts of exercises with that, including writing letters, burning them, all sorts of stuff.
Burning the people.
Back to say love.
Burning the letters, not the people.
Oh, right. That's disappointing.
When there's a house fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was a set.
There's a lot of house fires in
Set
Bondi.
the ablaze. All right, and then the last one is operate your life with these new beliefs in mind. So now you get to choose. You get to choose what your new beliefs are. You get to choose the type of person you want to be. James Clear, who writes Atomic Habits. Anyone ever read that book?
Yeah.
Oh, such a good one. Yeah. So he breaks it down of how to take action and do new healthy habits and implement new habits into your life, because it can be hard at first. And he also talks about how massive change doesn't require massive action. So we think like, oh, I want to be this person, but that person lives way up there in that nice house on the hill. How the F am I ever going to get there? But like, if you just take one little step at a time, you're going to get there eventually, right? It all starts with one little step. So yeah, this is my disco formula. I have journaling prompts for some of you if you guys want to take them home with you. You can journal about it, but this is what I take my clients to. And I run 6-week programs where I dive way deeper into all this stuff with women in particular. So yeah, any questions?
No, that was great. Well done.
Yeah.
Well done.
Thank you. Oh, good. You like it? Thank you. So what's the time?
Yeah. Mr. Wolf.
Well, I do have a meditation if you guys want.
Yeah,
Do
sure.
you want? Okay, cool. It'll last about 10-15 minutes. So,
Can you be quiet for that long?
Oh, look at that
welcome
transition.
to your dream life.
Sorry.
No, that's all right.
Alrighty, so. Oh, I was gonna play music. Can we do that? Or no?
Useless.
Yeah. If not, it's okay. It might be too much. I forgot about that.
It's
It's
it
okay.
doesn't fill you up.
We can play it on phone.
Yeah.
Yeah?
I'm
Okay.
fine on my phone.
Okay, yeah.
But I know I've had lunch.
So just Spotify?
Oh, yeah, Spotify.
What song is that?
Well, in America, that would be a
called,
country.
Kentucky.
Although Andre is a main. It's just American.
Sorry, yeah.
That's the main.
I'll have it changed.
I know.
Yes.
Someone let you down.
Not really, no.
That was a bit of a ponder.
Change of heart.
Julie,
Yes.
are there any hacks to seeing those limiting beliefs? Is there something that happens or some, is there a way to spot, as I'm going through my life, is there a way for me to, like I'm sitting here thinking like, what are my limiting beliefs? And there's a couple of like things that I suspect are my limiting beliefs. How do I like identify them in like a practical way or in a
Yeah, so this is like where the super honest inventory awareness comes in. So like when something happens to you, it like honestly relationships are the biggest teachers, especially interpersonal, like husband, wife, partner relationships, because they trigger things inside of us that we didn't really know were even there sometimes. And on a friendship level or an acquaintance level, that's kind of hard to get into. So when a situation happens, like the way you react to it, you have to really unpack it and be like, okay, so that pissed me off that that person did this, but what was my role? Like, why would I be pissed off? What action that they took made me mad? So looking at interactions is probably the best way, or even like maybe when we do this meditation and then afterward you're like, oh, I could never have that, and then just you have to unpack why you think that. Like, so the journaling prompts and working with a coach obviously can kind of, because when someone's watching you talk about things, when they're trained in NLP, they can pick up like, oh wow, okay, you obviously have that view, but why do you have that view? And then you can go deeper into that. Does that make sense?
Why do we have to go to trauma? Why do we have to go through trauma to recognise that we have these beliefs? You have to be at rock bottom.
I know.
Why do we then go, hang on, that's from this, or why can't, I suppose that's a why, isn't it? Why do we not, we're too young to understand that awareness is not.
And I guess if you're not wanting to change and you're not wanting to evolve, like you're just gonna keep living your life as you are. But I guess it does take something to be like, hey, wake up, be better. And then that's when you get curious, and that's when you have the ability to be honest with yourself about this sort of stuff. Because otherwise you're just like, I'm great, everything's fine, woohoo, my life's great. And like that's great if it is, that's great, but most of the time it's not. Most of the time everyone has something that they're kind of working through. All right.
So Geordie, I've got a question for you.
Yes.
So a lot of this to me is the treatment of obviously the traumas, the triggers, the protectors, whatever you want to call it, in the journey of kind of creating your ideal self. Okay. Obviously medication does that as well, the treatment, but the preventative is as important, right? To prevent particularly girls, I've got a daughter myself who's 13, who's kind of at that age where they really they want to fit in, and I always tell my daughter, be yourself because everyone else is taken.
Yeah.
It's very difficult for them to even fathom that or be themselves, right?
Yeah.
Because they want to fit in. So like do you have your like maybe thoughts of working on a program, a disco program, but for the younger
Yeah.
Or do they need to go
demographic.
through that crap to come out?
Well,
Or-
that's the
the
thing.
beautiful
It's like
butterfly.
or
chicken
to at
and the
least
egg.
realise
Like,
that
yeah.
they don't have to
They're
fit
aware
in.
of it earlier.
But
They're
that
not gonna
age is
listen.
so
They're not
formative.
ready, I think.
But they'll
Like-
listen to Geordie.
Totally, I think it's exactly. If they're aware of it when they're younger, I
Yeah.
wasn't aware of all this stuff when I was younger.
Well,
You're
this
aware
is
of
like
But are they
why
ready
this needs to be taught in
Why
school.
don't- would they listen?
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
I
listening
think
to
he's like, they
this
listen to
therapy.
Geordie. They're
They're
not going to
listening to
listen to
listen.
someone else.
Yeah.
And even if they get one thing
Yeah.
out of it, and they
Yeah.
go, hang on, that was, or I can use that tool. It's like you said, the reading a book. Sometimes you can read a book 100 times and then once, or a movie, and you get that out and you get that.
But how many people are doing incredible things and then they come from the story of, oh, this happened and,
Yes,
and
no,
it
that's
doesn't have
true.
to be a big dramatic thing. It
That's
can just be,
That's true.
I didn't eat in high school
No, of
or
course.
whatever. So I don't
To
know,
come out
maybe
of that
them just
makes them a
go
stronger
through
person.
stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, no,
like,
There's a halfway though, isn't there? There's a grey
obviously I don't
area.
want my
Yeah.
kids to suffer, but
but also, like, everyone is on their own journey, and, like, everyone's soul, if you want to call that, was kind of, it's here for a reason. There's karma, there's past lives, there's, like, reasons why you have manifested. Like, I believe that everything in your life is not an accident. Like, you've manifested the family that you were born into, the people that you interact with, and all of those people are there to teach you something, and all those situations are there to teach you something, and everything happens for you, not to you. That's not shifting out of the victim mentality. And that's hard to hear if you've been through stuff that's traumatic. But yeah, like, you kind of, I don't know, sometimes you might have to live through some of that stuff in order to
Absolutely, yeah.
realize it. And yeah, 13 is hard, but I actually am, I used to be a youth worker before I did all this. When I was a trophy wife, I pretended to be a youth worker. I did for a little, but yeah. Anyway, I would love to, like, combine the two things again. Yeah. All right. I don't know if this is gonna actually work.
You know, I've had clients over the years who the problem that they're dealing with is that they were so protected that they were
Absolutely. They don't know how to be resilient.
this weak and can't deal with anything.
But I
So
think
it's a-
we've got to start early. It's a dream. We've got to
Yeah.
start protecting the
That's true.
Yeah. No, we need to get into the schools for sure. Like, we don't need to know algebra. We need to know how to, like, deal with our emotions.
I did tell my
Yeah.
daughters, you know, thoughts create your reality, and they're like, you're full of shit, man.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? Later on, you'll
Yeah.
be like, you know
Yeah,
what?
what did you say? What did you say again, that one?
But one daughter the other day said something about she manifested something. I was like, oh my god!
You're like, yeah.
It's working.
I was close.
All right, guys, let's settle in. We have a little bit of a journey to go on together. So I invite you to just get really comfortable. Okay. Okay, we're gonna get our not so cold maybe to get more comfortable. Turn that air conditioning off. But yeah, just settle in. So if you have your arms crossed, maybe just take your arms down by your side. Feel your feet on the earth. And close down your eyes if you haven't already. We're turning the air conditioning, so you'll warm up in a second, turning it off. Sit up really tall, so pull your crown of head up to the sky. The sit bones ground down, shoulder blades back. We're about to walk into your dream world, baby. You gotta be like posture power. Sit up tall. All right, and then find your breath. Take a big inhale through the nose. Open your mouth, let it go. That felt good. A couple more like that. Big inhale. Exhale. Last one. Biggest inhale of the day. Fill all the way up with air from your belly all the way to your collarbones. And then open your mouth. Let it go. So welcome to your dream world, my loves. I invite you to dream really big. Don't hold back here. Take those dreams and stretch them out, multiply them. So it is morning in your dream world. You're about to wake up. You're about to open your eyes, and before you do so, you just begin to kind of stir around in your bed. I want you to notice what your sheets feel like on your skin. What sort of fabric are your sheets in your dream world? Are they silk? Are they Egyptian cotton? And what time is it? Do you have to wake up with an alarm? Can you wake up whenever you want? You get to choose. And then you open your eyes. Who do you see next to you? Are you with anyone? Do you have a partner, a husband, a wife, your children? Who's in the bed with you? You choose. And as you begin to sit up, stretch a little, you look around your room. What do you see? What is it like? What sort of art do you have hanging on the walls? What view do you look at when you look out your window? Do you have a big window? Does the sunlight come and kiss your skin? And then you swing your legs over the bed, your feet hit the floor. What is underneath your feet? Do you have a furry rug? Do you have nice carpet, marble tile, wooden floors? What's your floor like? When you get up, you begin to walk toward your bathroom. What's it like in there? Do you have a big bathtub, a big beautiful steam shower, nice sink? You catch your eye in the mirror, and what is that experience like? And then you begin to walk through your dream home and your dream world. What is the energy of your home? How many rooms do you have? Who's in those rooms? Kids, family, friends, pets, animals. You decide. It's your dream life. You begin to walk into the living room. What does your couch look like? How is it set up? Visualize all the details. What's the vibe? What's the decor? What colors do you have on the walls? When you walk into your kitchen, what is that like? What appliances do you have? Do you have a big window so when you do the dishes you can look out at a beautiful landscape? And then you fling your fridge door open. What's in there? What sort of food do you nourish your body with? You begin to make your drink of choice for the morning: espresso, herbal tea, lemon water. And how do you start your day? What's your morning routine? Are you sitting down to meditate, to breathe, to read the newspaper, read a book, connect with your children? What do you do to start your day? And then keep walking through your home. You're walking toward your front door now. I want you to imagine you reaching out for the doorknob. Notice what color the door is, and then feel the doorknob underneath your hand as you turn it. What does that feel like? Open the door. What do you see? Where are you? Is there rolling green hills? Are you in the country? Do you hear the ocean? Are you by the beach? Is there snow-capped mountains in the distance? Maybe you hear the hustle bustle of the city because you live in a penthouse. You choose. It's your dream world. And then as you begin to walk out of your home, you're in the grounds now of your house. Where is that? What does it look like? Is there big gardens, vegetable gardens, flowers? What do you hear? Are there birds chirping? What do you smell? What do you see? And how do you feel being in the grounds of your home? And what else is there? Do you have a pool, a tennis court, a yoga shala? You choose. Then as you begin to walk into your garage, you open the door. What's in there? What sort of toys do you got? Jet skis, snowmobiles, boats, snowboards, surfboards, a home gym. What sort of car do you have, or cars? What's in there? You choose. It's your dream world. Then you're walking back into your house now, back through the front door. You're getting ready for your day. What are you getting ready for? Do you have to go to work? Do you have to go drive somewhere? Do you get to stay at home with the kids? What is your day like? When you walk into your closet to start to get ready, what does that feel like? What is your wardrobe like? What sort of clothes do you have, and how do you feel putting on those clothes? It's time to go now to get ready for your day, to leave the house if you're leaving. And if you are leaving, where are you driving to? Where's your office? Where's your place of work? If you're in the car, what sort of music are you listening to? And who's in the car with you? What scenery are you looking at as you drive? And then you've arrived to your workplace if you're going to work. And what is that like? What do you do for a living? How do you make money? What sort of services do you provide for the world, and how does that make you feel? What does your team look like? Do you work for yourself? Do you have a assistant, a whole team underneath you? Do you have a boss? Who are the people that you interact with in your office, in your workspace, and how do they make you feel? And how do you make them feel? And then I want you to think about the relationships in your life, in your dream world. What sort of close relationships do you have? Who are the closest people to you? What sort of friendships do you foster? What sort of conversations do you have with these people? How do you show up for them, and how do they show up for you? And I want you to think about your relationship with money. Visualize your bank account and the number in there in your dream world. How does that make you feel to have that much money? What do you choose to spend it on? What industries do you choose to support? How does it make you feel spending your money? And then most importantly, I want you to envision your relationship with yourself. How do you talk to yourself every day? When you catch your eye in the mirror, what do you say? What words fill your head? How do you fill your cup? What's your self-care routine? What sort of posture do you have as you walk? How do you love yourself? And then I want you to step back. Look at this dream world of yours. It's so beautiful, isn't it? If you don't have a smile on your face already, turn the two corners of your mouth up and let yourself be here in this energy, in this vibration of your dream world. Just let yourself bathe here, marinate. Notice how you feel. Notice if you feel a bit elated, a bit blissful, grateful, joyful. Good news. Simply because you can imagine all of that, it means it already exists in a different dimension, and it's on its way to you. It's already all yours. Remember, your desires were placed there for a reason. The universe has your back. Just notice how you feel. I want you to bookmark this feeling. Know that you can always come back here to this frequency, this vibration. It lives within my lungs. When you're ready, begin to deepen your breath. Wiggle the fingers and the toes. Circle the wrists and ankles. Maybe reach your hands overhead. Keeping the eyes closed for now. Just coming back slowly. Rubbing your hands together, creating some heat in between your palms. And then gently placing your palms over your eyes, still keeping them closed. Blinking your eyes open, letting the light back in slowly. And coming back into the space. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. Well, that's all. That's all I got for you guys.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. So with my clients, I get them to do that, and then I get them to write and journal the 10 themes that they kind of had in that in their dream world, right? And you write it in I am statements or the present moment, like I love my beautiful husband that I wake up to every morning or whatever it is. And then you can work with those affirmations. So I do a lot of work with that as well. So yeah, that's all. Here we go. I made some cool stuff. This is a QR code. So I made some. These are the journaling prompts. I didn't print too many because they printed it funny. But that QR code takes you to the Dream Life meditation. I pre-recorded it for you. And then that one takes you to my Facebook group. And yeah, I run 6-week empowerment programs called SOAR. If you guys want to take any of that.
Love them. Thank
Fabulous.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being so honest.
You're welcome.
Really good. Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.
Same here. She's printed on my card. I'm trying to do 2 good. What pages at the moment? It's
Yeah. Yeah, it's good, right?
Yeah, but it's still, yeah, just change it.
Yeah.
It was amazing. I gave a video, I sent a video of the final. She told me what she's been like 9 years older than me. And that was massive.
I didn't print enough of this, but you can also get the these on my Facebook, the journaling prompts. Yeah, so that's my Facebook group. I'm gonna get a website up. All this is happening. Yeah, thank you. I'm excited. And I'm starving. I'm gonna have to do today.
So that's what she's on. This is the ones too. But she was quite different.
I was in the south of France. How about you guys? I was over on Teams.
I drink her. She's got kids.
Water hole in front of me, pool, fireplace.
Spent a fortune.
We stayed at this Airbnb right next to
Always.
Opposite.
At least it's black and not white, right?
The hotels behind. The views are spectacular. You know, it was quite cute. I don't know why. The suite was gone.
Yeah.
I've got
Where are
3.
you from originally? Oh, cool.
We're
I've been there.
3
Yeah.
this week. 2 this week.
But I love pho. Oh my god.
These were the Herald. There was 3 houses in the Herald. One was
And how long have you been
anyway.
living?
But this one, it was sent over as well.
Oh wow.
like my husband's
Like it?
family, know this family. So,
So I'm on
it's
the
like
way.
a mountain.
That's a nice place.
Someone in St. Leonard's
So I've
now.
been to that.
2:45.
I was actually 1:40. It was like, what do you do in the house?
But,
When do you study?
Ocean swim in the Mediterranean.
oh my God, not that I would want.
No, there's so many apartments.
There's some nice houses.
Yeah.
I got pictures to send my clients. All my clients send us that, and I'm like, no, because there was
Just building
about
more now.
12
Yeah. Well, that's some line building, some of this.
and I went to see this.
Well, I
And I
actually,
literally got accosted. Never been accosted before. When I get back up, I try to avoid her. I'm not a maybe 15, and not she's down the street. It's always been oh, is there another one? Do you have any more? It doesn't matter. If you can send me a soft copy.
Yeah, I can. And if you go there, that takes you to my Facebook group, and then that is that is on my Facebook group.
That's what you're downloading on your group.
Great, yeah.
just.
Isn't it?
I love a disco. I love disco anything.
Isn't it fun? I just like randomly came up with that one day. I had all these steps I wanted to put in there, and then I was like, disco. It works. Yeah. It's very random.
I love what you're wearing.
Thank you. Thank you. I got it at a women's empowerment that I spoke at last year. But that's what I mean about the universe just providing all these things. I just randomly
Great curls.
Yeah, well, no, and like I randomly got invited to speak at the Women's Empowerment Festival that I wasn't even like supposed to. This was like a year ago. Like they were just like, yeah, talk on stage, and I was like, what? And, like it was in front of like 300 people, and I kind of did something similar to that, a little bit longer. But yeah, so anyway, I just got that out there. And what sort of mindset do you do?
Look, it's so simple.
I thought when you said that.
Yeah, and it's kind of used already because it's really but nothing in their life not to wrap their accents, or they just plump the ladder against the wrong wall and work really hard to build the life that they don't want to. Absolutely about values. And then the whole shadow values, which is absolutely once you know what you enjoy, that's what gives you that
Yeah.
It's very simple.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I love your shirt, by the way. I love your
I
shirt.
heard about it on set.
Sure.
Group photo.
I'm just yet to see.
Thank you.
Oh, do you want us to stand up?
Over the years, people have reported supposedly seeing
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
It's the first time I've seen you get a photo. Same photo.
Last time. Oh, that was great. No, I want to say you.
Oh, did you enjoy it?
Yeah.
Thanks for coming.
The visualization one was really cool.
Isn't it cool? It's like so powerful. Everyone that does it with me is just like, whoa.
Yeah.
When microphones first.
That was better than I was expecting.
Yeah, it is. Imagination is so much more powerful than like a movie.
Totally. Yeah. And that QR code that's on that, it takes you to the meditation.
Oh, does it?
Yeah. That's my Facebook one. And then share exactly.
Oh, very
Yeah, if you
cool.
ever want to review it or share it with anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure, we'll do.
Lunch is enough, and I don't feel
Did it work? I hope so.
Does it
You-
work,
you
Joy?
think?
Well, you should know that answer.
No, I know, but like that was yes. Amazing. What was your name again?
Michael.
Michael, that's it.
Yeah.
You came last time, right?
Yeah, I was going to last week.
Yeah, I missed
last
that. I
week,
missed that one. I remember. You live in Double Bay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. All right, I'll share it.
Yeah, cool.
Share it around.
If I get connected with me on the.
Amazing.
Right, good talk.
Thank you. Good to see you again. See ya.
Or understand how you build it.
I've been building a little YouTube playlist. A collection.
But I'd love to do something.
Yeah.
That was wonderful.
Thank you. I want to come to your thing.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I'll
Send it to me. Do you have?
I'll send it to you. Have I got your details?